One thing separates the top 5% in any profession. It's their ability to communicate. In this video, I'm gonna break down what all great communicators do that you may not be doing. I'm Dr. Dan, I'm the chiropractic advocate. I help chiropractors understand and communicate the powerful effects of an adjustment and how to communicate that to the public. So here's the deal. I have been around, I have listened to, and I have studied the best communicators of our day, and even those that have come before us. And I geek out on how it affects the brain. How do certain words and stories uniquely affect an audience unlike anything else? And I want to break down for you what great communicators do that you may be missing out on. I'm going to point out some of the neuroscientific strategies that they implement that you may be missing. In fact, if you're asking yourself what's the value of communication, I want to remind you.
There isn't anything that you can possibly do that makes you more competent in everything you do than to learn how to communicate. I don't care if you're going to be a carpenter. I mean, being a carpenter, by the way, is very difficult, especially if you're a good carpenter. But if you're good at communicating as a carpenter, you're like 10 times better as a carpenter.
Jordan Peterson himself has become so popular because of his depth in understanding what he knows, but also his ability to communicate it. And so here's what I want you first to recognize, that although these communicators are great at what they do and they've learned a lot and they're able to make massive influence and impact, you can too. These things that I'm going to teach you can be learned and implemented by anyone. I would love to hear from you. What has been your biggest tip that you have learned that has helped you become a better communicator? Whether you're trying to sell something to somebody, you're trying to speak virtually, or you're trying to speak from a stage, what do you know or what do you do that you feel separates you from the rest? And more importantly, where did you learn it from? Who taught you how to communicate? Because for me and my background, I really have no business speaking or communicating. I have learned through trial and error. I grew up an introverted middle child of 8 kids, scared of my own shadow, not wanting to go collect money from a paper route that I did early on because I was scared of what people would think, even though I gave them a great service at 6 in the morning, every single morning. That was where I came from. I skipped a speech class, or I took 2 English classes in college so that I could avoid a speech class because I was that scared of speaking in front of people. I've come a long way. And so can you. So when I evaluate leaders and great communicators, I study what they do that I can do, knowing that I don't have the raw materials and was not born with charisma to communicate. I am inspired to do this particular topic in this video because I was driving in my car the other day talking to a good friend of mine. Now, this great friend of mine started and runs a company that is now worth $350 million. I tell you that because he has a unique gift to communicate. Well, we were talking about a certain issue that he was going through. He's talking about his lower back and this disc issue that he has going on his lower back. And he was telling me how he recently had some stem cells put into his low back. Now, why that's important is because he said there was a certain injection that occurred, and while he's telling me about this, it literally clicks for me. I'm like, this is the difference. See, most people wouldn't recognize the way he communicated to me was a separator, but for me, I'm analytical. I study it, I want to know more, and it hit me. He said, Dan, this injection really hurt. However, guys like you and I, we can put up with a lot of pain. We could deal with it. We've been through a lot. We've been through wins, losses. We've been through some pain, so we could deal with it. Now, you may think there's nothing to that, but what he didn't say was, I'm tough, I can do it, I'm an egomaniac, I've got pride, because he knows when you communicate, that would be a turnoff. He's saying guys like us. So he's literally putting himself in my shoes and making me be the hero of the story, making me be in the story. And I know what you're saying. What does this have to do with it? Here's the deal. All great communicators know their audience, know their prospect, and they put themselves in their shoes. There was research done with a company trying to sell something. And if you study any of my work, I will be the first to tell you that humans make decisions based on emotion. But what this research evaluated, they had 2 groups. One group went in to try to sell it, and they were told to focus simply on the emotions of their prospects. So they go in to try to sell something with the specific intent to focus on their prospects' emotions. Group 2 was told to go sell the same thing, but in this time, specifically focus on their thoughts. Not just their emotions, but their thoughts. So then they took it back, they looked at the results, and I've asked people this, I've asked my clients this, I've said, who do you think got better results? The salespeople focused on the emotions of their prospects, or the salespeople focused on the thoughts of their prospects? What do you think? The answer is B, thoughts. When you focus on your prospect's thoughts or your audience thoughts, you start to elicit a change that allows them to trust you, that allows them to like you, that allows them to see that your communication is for them and not for you. I geek out at this stuff. And I love to see it live time. And this seemingly irrelevant conversation that I'm having with a high-level leader, one of my best friends, explains what all great communicators do without me having to explain it. That story speaks volumes. The question I have for you is, do you communicate with the thoughts and the desires and the pains and the challenges of your prospect in mind? Because when you do that, I'm telling you right now, it changes the game. All great communicators, the top 5% in every industry, are great communicators. They focus on the thoughts of their prospects. They put themselves in their shoes. The other thing I'll say is, if you're dealing with somebody one-on-one, you've got to be detached from the outcome. When you're detached, there's something that you engage called the law of neediness. The law of neediness says the more you need something, the less likely you are to get it. So when you're detached from the outcome, you're detached from them saying yes, you're detached from their decision, it actually makes you more influential. How do you do that? You be so convicted and so confident in the value that your product, service, or offer delivers that prospect feels you. They feel how convicted you are, and they ultimately know that you're not losing sleep over their yes or their no. So the takeaway here is, number one, know your audience, know your prospects, know their pain, know the desires, know their challenges, and know their concerns. Second thing is, prepare your content, prepare your questions, prepare your topics that you want to cover. Again, putting yourself in their shoes. And then thirdly, make sure your perspective is seen through their eyes. Don't get what you want to say in the way of what they need to hear. They will not value your product, service, or offer through their eyes. They'll value it through your eyes. Do these things and separate yourself. This is what all great communicators do. If you need help with this is what I do all day, every day. Click the link below. I would love to help you. Dr. Dan, I'm out.